All right, and welcome back to the forecast card. Should be an exciting day of basketball. 4-1 seeds facing off. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped to watch both of these games. Obviously not the random bullshit tournament games. Still gonna give you my side on those, but not necessarily sure if I'm gonna bet them. Maybe I'll sprinkle them just to have something to watch throughout the day, but no business caring about either of those games, if I'm being totally honest. Yeah, I guess we'll start us off. Yeah, the 2 days ago, Cincy ended up losing that game by 9. Just they didn't play defense. Again, I think in these tournaments you just have to pick the team with better offense because the defense just doesn't exist. Villanova, they end up winning by 1 at the end of the game, but I think they lose first half by like 4 points. They went 3 for 15 from 3. It is what it is. Chattanooga ends up winning outright. So 1 and 2 on those games. One the game that I honestly only cared about the NIT finals. The other two were just because it was college basketball and I had to bet it. But yeah, let's get into the 4 games or the 4 sides that I like for tomorrow. All right, heading on to game number 1, we have Boise versus Nebraska. Genuinely believe you could argue either side for this game. Model wise, I have it as basically a 1 point win for Boise. I think it's going to be a true toss up. Boise obviously, put up 100 points in their last game against Butler. But again, I think Butler kind of looked similar to how Nebraska's going to look. Nebraska is going to rely really heavily on one guy, obviously Bryce Williams. In the game against Butler, they crushed them. They had 4 guys that scored over 10 points, 2 over 20, while Butler only had 1 guy that scored 30, and then no one else scored even more than 15 points. I think we're going to see something similar here. I think Boise has the talent to lock down Bryce Williams, and without him, I think Nebraska's offense really starts to look tough. Obviously, he still has the ability to make tough shots, but I do personally prefer the depth in Boise. Game is going to be slightly closer to them, and I do think they, on average, have been a slightly better team on the year. They're going to have success in the paint. They're the better free throw shooting team. Have some success on the boards. Nebraska probably will have success in the paint as well, and maybe they'll have some, success from 3. But I do think the difference here is going to be the fact that Nebraska turns the ball over and is a lot worse on the boards. So I think Boise ends up getting like 7 to 9 additional field goal attempts. Nebraska ends up shooting better, but I think Boise ends up winning this game by 3 to 5 points. So slightly in, but nothing too confident. All right, heading on to game number 2, we have UCF at Villanova. Now, Villanova obviously didn't cover for me last game. Well, neither did Boise, but again, I'm kind of just riding with the favorites in this tournament. The Dogs had their day, but I think Villanova is just a lot more talent. UCF, yeah, you could argue that their bench players are trying to get motivated, get some minutes in and have a chance to make the roster next year and maybe get a starter role. And obviously UCF is an extremely consistent team, but again, I just don't know what to expect from either team. Nova shot really badly in the first, but they kind of locked back in. And yeah, UCF held Cincy to 80 points, or 70 points, whatever it was. But Villanova's offense is significantly better. If you look at where Nova likes to score, they like to shoot threes and mid-range shots. They're going to get the shots they want. They'll get to line a decent amount where they're pretty elite, third best in free throw percentage, have some success on the offensive glass. But I'm more concerned on the other side. Obviously, UCF still going to be without their best player in this game. Villanova going to be fully healthy. If you look at where this UCF team likes to score, they like to get secondary opportunities. They're a top 50 team in both secondary opportunity, the number of offensive boards and the percentage of converting them. But this is a Nova team that's top 10 in secondary in defending their own boards and limiting your chances of getting them. And if you do get them, the odds of you making the second shot are very low. Villanova, they don't turn the ball over a ton. UCF kind of does rely on forcing turnovers. Villanova, top 50 team in limiting turnovers. UCF, they shoot a lot of their shots in the paint, 40%. Nova is going to have the advantage there. Top 60 in basket defense. The only thing that Villanova struggles to defend is the mid-range. And that's the shot that UCF only takes 20% of the time. They defend the 3 well. They don't foul you a lot. I think Villanova is just a slightly better team. Has played a not as tough schedule. But I think if they can slow the pace down a bit, UCF will probably turn the ball over a ton more than they typically do, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. So, yeah, give me Nova -3 in this game. Kind kind of like the first half -1.5 as well, but we'll see. I'm not really gonna try that again because they came out kind of shit in the last first half. But yeah, let's go into the two games that everyone actually gives a shit about. All right, that brings us to Florida versus Auburn. First game of the Final Four, kicking off at 6:09 p.m. Eastern Time. This is going to be a good game. I think most of this, in my opinion, in terms of capping, really comes down to will Johnny Broome be healthy? If he's 100%, even if he's 90%, I still think that they have the more experienced team in this matchup. I prefer their coach. I think that the guard play, Florida has slightly better guards. Obviously, Clayton Jr., Will Richard, Aberdeen, all elite. But Auburn, not necessarily that elite of guards. They have Miles Kelly, who's been good. Baker Mazara has been pretty good. But obviously, the biggest thing will be Condon versus Broome. If Broome can't get the shots off, and last time these two teams played, Broome only put up 18 points. I think it's going to be tough. Again, when you look at their last matchup, which I think is the biggest thing for me, is like when these two teams played, I think Auburn was 11-point favorites. Obviously, they were at home in the jungle, but still, I don't know if Auburn is really that much worse than Florida. I think the line is what it is because of this 90-81 game. But if you really dig into the game, Florida shot insanely well, 48% from the field. They shot 40% from three. I don't think Auburn's going to let them get that many easy looks off like they did in their last game. Auburn only made 7 threes, which they're not necessarily known to be the greatest three-point shooting team ever. But they're still a top 30. They typically average closer to 40%. So they had a bad three-point shooting game. Florida had arguably about exactly what their average is, close to 39%. So, but the biggest difference in this game was the free throws. Auburn had 23 free throws, but made one fewer free throw. They shot 60% from the free throw line when they average 72%. And Florida, who averages also 72%, arguably 73%, they shot 83%. So if you look at all the other kind of fundamentals, Auburn had more steals, Florida had more turnovers, Florida had more fouls, and Auburn had 4 more additional offensive rebounds. Obviously, you can't really look at offensive rebounds that heavily because obviously Florida was making more of their shots, so they had less chances to make offensive boards. But I don't know, man. If all these kind of even out, this game becomes really tight. And now we're getting Auburn in a revenge spot with, in my opinion, the more experienced, the better coach. Man, I could see a world where Florida wins this game by 10. Like, they sometimes look so good, but I think Auburn is just a slightly more consistent team. And I think if they can slow down the pace of this game, I think they have a solid shot at winning it. Again, the biggest thing with Florida is they shoot threes and they can get layups, but they're significantly two-dimensional in that way. They don't shoot mid-range shots, where Auburn kind of has that versatility. And when you're getting defended, like you will be in a game like this, where the stakes are insanely high, sometimes you need to start settling for more mid-range shots. You're not going to get the looks as much as you want. Auburn's going to be playing an extremely aggressive defense. And sometimes when the shot clock's running down, you just need to pull up a mid-range shot. You can't find the shot you want. And that's going to where I think Auburn pulls away in this game. I think they're going to have the advantage in the paint. And if Florida's threes are not falling like they did in their last matchup, I don't think there's a way that Florida can keep up in this game. So really banking on Broome being healthy. But I basically have this model as a pick 'em. So I'm just going to lean here with Auburn. I think they're going to have the best player on the floor in Broome. They have a more experienced roster. Florida's a little bit younger. Auburn has the better coach. And again, they've been here before. I don't think they screw it up twice in a row. So give me Auburn plus 2.5 and out of the money line as well. All right, and that brings us to our fourth game. And in my opinion, it's going to probably be the most fun game to watch because I think both these teams they play really good basketball. Like very complete teams, elite offenses, elite defenses. Duke, third best offense or defense, first best offense. Houston, first best defense, fourth best offense. So, but again, when I do look at this matchup here, I think 5.5 points is a little bit too many points. Again, when I look at these two teams, Duke, their biggest advantage here in this game is going to be free throws. They're going to get to line a lot more, and they're a better free throw shooting team. But that being said, Houston, obviously not that elite offensively, but the one thing that Duke has struggled a little bit at defending is the three. They defend paint and mid-range top 10, but in the three-point, they fall outside of the top 25 in three-point defense. And another bigger problem here is Houston doesn't force us that many turnovers, but Duke doesn't force significantly more turnovers. Man, this is such a tough matchup, man. But I do think that Houston, they're much more battle-tested, played a harder schedule. The one thing that Duke's problem is they're very inconsistent. If you look at their consistency rating, they're ranked 346th, which typically means like they're either not covering by a significant margin or they're covering by a ton. Like you're not really sure what you're going to get from them. And I think this could be a close game if Duke's shots aren't falling. I think Houston has a slightly more experienced lineup. Duke, obviously, their coach is very inexperienced. It's only his third year coaching. I don't think he's made it past the Sweet 16. I could be wrong. I think maybe he made the Elite Eight. But Houston, this coach has made it to the Final Four twice, or maybe even three times. I'm not sure how far he made it with Oklahoma. I know they made it to the Final Four once, but I'm not sure if he did it twice. So much more experienced coach in this big moment. And we're getting plus 5.5 with them with a roster that I don't think is that much worse. Obviously, Duke has, the more talent, but two of their stars are juniors, and I just don't know if this light might be a little bit too bright for them. Maybe they start making a few more unforced errors. I think Houston's experience kind of prevails here, and this ends up being a one possession game down the stretch. Obviously, you never know. Proctor could get hot from three. Cooper is one of the best floor raisers in college basketball. He can, take on double teams and kind of create open man. But I think this might be a little bit too much on him. If he gets pressured heavily, he's going to have to rely on everyone else to score. And I don't know if Proctor's going to be able to step up like he has all tournament. This is a big step up against a really good Houston defense, the number one defense. So I'm going to have to lean here with Houston, also sprinkle them on the money line. I just think this number has gotten too big. Obviously, ACC versus Big 12. But again, Houston has played a way harder competition. Record quality, number one. Average season rank, number one. They're fully healthy. Duke, Cooper Flags looked fine, but they haven't really been truly tested in any of their matchups to get to this point. This is going to be by far their hardest game. Duke, they played Alabama. They won by 20. They played Arizona, which I guess you could argue was a pretty tough game, but Cooper, he had a great game, 6-7, 30 points. But that was against an Arizona team, significantly worse defense. And Caleb Love dropped 35. That shouldn't have really been a close game. Yeah, fuck. This is going to be a tough one. But yeah, I'm going to lean with Houston. I think Houston has a chance to upset this Duke team. Better coaching, slightly worse team, but more experienced senior team. I think Duke is going to rely a little bit too much on their young freshman and junior to step up in this massive moment. I have this modeled as a 1-point win for Duke. So I think taking the points is really the only option here for me. Again, Duke's looked insane. They could win this game by 50 points if they play at their highest level, and Proctor can't miss. But I'm going to bank here that Houston and their coach is going to get them ready for this game, and they're going to show up big early. So give me Houston plus 5.5 in this one. Probably my favorite game of the day. All right, and just to recap, going to be leaning Boise, Villanova. I might just moneyline parlay both of them. I think they both win. Not really sure if they cover, but I think they're both much better teams. So, we'll see. I might not even bet them at all. Might just sprinkle like a quarter unit just to watch them. But Auburn plus 2.5, sprinkle the money line, and Houston plus 5.5, also sprinkle the money line. I think if I have to look at it, I think Duke's going to be the most public side. I think getting them at plus 5.5 is a little bit too big because I think all the public money came on Duke and all the hype over Cooper Flag being the number one pick in the NBA draft, whatever. Then I think Florida's also got a lot of hype with Clayton Jr. And people just kind of forget how insane Auburn was. Like the fact that Auburn was 11-point favorites last time these two teams played, and they're getting basically a 13.5-point swing. I think that means that at this point, Auburn has to be the right side. I think Florida is a bit overvalued. I think Auburn, Broome, if you looked at his history, he could step up in big moments. He has some of his best games when the light's the brightest. So I think Broome has a crazy game, maybe a 20-point triple-double, if I had to guess. So, yeah, that's everything for today. Thanks so much for watching. Baseball video should be up tomorrow morning. It might just be a write-up because I'm posting this video late, and I'm trying to fix my soup schedule a bit because I've been staying up till like 5 a.m. recording these videos, and I'm probably going to be starting a new job soon, so can't really be doing that. Yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Cheers.